Welcome to MWEB's Entrepreneur Zone. Today I've got Pete Flynn with me from ELC. Welcome, Pete.
Thank you.
Tell us a bit about your entrepreneurial journey.
Okay, I started out probably in high school because I was in a rock band, and that's kind of where I learned some business skills, how to provide a service and sell it. And then after I completed my studies, I was struggling to find a job. A lot of my friends were going overseas, and I decided I wanted to stay in South Africa. So I realized the only way to go for me was to start my own business, which I did. I started a web development consultancy, which I grew from sort of myself to about 25 employees at one stage. And subsequently, I left that business. I sold my shares to my partners, and I bought into another business that had been running for 20 years called the Environmental Law Consultancy, and that's where I'm now working and building that business.
That's quite a change from web development and web consultancy to a law consultancy. Tell us more about the law side of it.
Well, I studied a Bachelor of Arts at UCT, and I had a keen interest in law. I actually wanted to study law, and I got a little bit sidetracked and ended up in the technology route, which I also love. But I kind of had this feeling that I wanted to do something that was more immediately significant, and I liked law. And when this opportunity came up with the business partner, he is an attorney and he's got an environmental degree, we decided that we should pursue it together.
And what does the business do?
It provides legal compliance assistance to large businesses, typically companies that are big manufacturing sites or mining sites, who have a big impact on the environment or occupational health and safety issues. And we help them to know what the law says about what they do so that they can be compliant. Believe it or not, it's very hard to actually know what the law says about your activities in order to be compliant. And the other issue is that the law changes frequently, weekly, there are significant changes. So we track those changes and then we tell our customers what is important for them based on what they do.
And have you brought some of the technology background into the business?
Absolutely. So the business had a web-based system which provided this information, and it had been built in 2007. And so last year we rebuilt the system. It was time for a technology refresh. And so I was able to use a lot of my skills from running a web development consultancy in that project. And I really believe that we have now the leading system in the country, if not in the world, because of the way that we do it. It's quite unique and special.
In terms of the business model, is it a traditional consultancy where you sell hours, or do you have product that you sell?
So this web-based system is sold on a subscription basis, which is nice from a business perspective and also nice for our customers because it's a dependable annual fee that they pay. They know what they're getting and how much they're paying. On the back of that, of course, we get requests to do all sorts of hours-based work, and those jobs are charged with a quote up front and delivered on a time-based quote.
I mean, let's explore the subscription model a bit more. It's kind of the golden ticket everyone's looking for, is an annuity type income. Is that something you specifically targeted?
Yes. In fact, when I left my previous business, I really was looking for an opportunity where I could build an annuity-based business because, having scaled an hours-based business to 25 employees, you really find that you're as good as your last sale. It becomes increasingly stressful to just make payroll and lots of difficult conversations, and it's not very sustainable. So I was looking for that type of opportunity, and when this came up, I thought this is what I'm looking for. It ticked a lot of blocks, including wanting to do something more significant, but also the annuity-based business.
Pete is someone who's in the process of acquiring a business and has sold shares in another business. What advice would you give to someone who's either looking to buy or looking to sell about their valuation of a business?
So valuation is a very tricky thing, and especially when it's a small company, not publicly traded, all of those things. So much of the value might be in the previous owners, sort of just who they are. And it's very hard to tell that from the outset. Our process took a long time. It was very hard to know. And the other thing about valuation is there are many methods. I think we looked at 5. But at the end of the day, any asset trades when supply and demand meet. When the buyer is willing to pay a price that the seller is willing to accept. So it's a difficult process. We kind of structured our deal in a way, and I don't want to go into detail, but where we could work together to increase or decrease the value of the business as it traded over the 5-year period, and that worked for us. But really, you've got to build trust between the previous owner and the people taking over, and you've got to meet each other, because it is a relationship that you want to have over a long period of time. You don't want to just shake hands and walk away. That's not great for the person who's buying the business.
In terms of your experience now of moving from a technology business into the law consultancy, how have you learnt about the environment, about the market, about new customers and new technologies and new information? What's been your learning curve there?
So one of the big differences between this business and my previous one is that I was working with small to medium enterprises mostly in the past, and now I'm working with big, often multinational corporates. And one of the big things that I've encountered is just the different sales process with these large corporates. It's extremely it's a lot longer. There's a lot more admin involved. It's a lot more formal, and so there were a lot of things that I had to learn that I didn't expect that I had to learn. That's probably the biggest difference.
You talk a lot about having to learn to sell to corporates, and that's a change for you, but also having to learn a new industry, which is effectively the environmental industry. Do you see it as an industry that you were keen to get involved in because of the changes that you could make for the positive, or did you just see it as an industry where there's good growth?
Make no mistake, the environmental industry and related issues, green, is a growing industry across the world. But I saw it also as an opportunity to do something significant and do something good, let's call it that. In fact, one of my slogans that I've always used through my career is have fun, make money, do something great. And I feel like do something great is part of this. The company doesn't just deal with the environment, it also deals with energy and occupational health and safety. So it's sort of sustainability on a high level. The other changing thing that's apparent is that regulation is increasing across the board in all areas, and particularly in the environment, in South Africa, but also throughout the world and on the continent. So it's becoming more difficult for people just to know what they have to do. So I believe that telling people what they need to do is a great start because the laws are good. They're just sometimes not very well enforced or not very well understood. So telling people exactly what they need to do is a great start in better environmental, energy, and health and safety management, which is a great start in sustainability. But there's much more to be done once you're complying. We talk a lot about beyond legal compliance, and I think that's an exciting focus for the future. But right now, just complying is hard enough. Yeah.
You've been in various businesses where you've had partners and groups of partners. What advice can you give to people that are looking to start partnerships or join partnerships?
I think cultural alignment is crucial. You have to get on a human level and kind of see the world in the same way. If you don't have that, you're really not off to a good start. And that doesn't have to do with sort of socioeconomics or race or anything like that. It's interpersonal. You just have to be culturally aligned. And then I think you just need to always keep a good sense of humor. It's easy to get familiar with your partners and start to treat them badly. And you need to just keep a good sense of humor, keep a level of respect, and just enjoy each other on a personal level. Again, have fun, make money, do something great. If you're not having fun, you need to rethink it.
You've been involved in a number of businesses. You're in the process of acquiring the business that you're in at the moment. Where do you see yourself going to next?
So there are a number of ways we could go. We could push more into sustainability as a broad concept, or legal compliance and management systems as a broad concept. Probably I'm going to pursue both, but I don't want to bite off more than I can chew, so I'm going to have to do it in steps. One thing I'm quite interested in looking at the moment is the possibility of creating a network of niche consultancies across many areas of law to work together as a network. Because if a business wants to procure a broad set of legal compliance services, they have to go to one of the large risk consultancies, which comes with a big price tag and also perhaps not a niche focus on all the areas. So I'm interested in looking at creating a network of specialized, focused boutique firms that can work together in an organized way to deliver a collective service.
Pete, that brings us on to our rapid fire questions.
Great.
What's the best advice you've ever received?
Good is the enemy of great.
And your best moment as an entrepreneur?
Getting a new big contract.
And your biggest mistake?
My biggest mistake is believing that models of business that work in the US and Europe are necessarily going to work here in South Africa.
What quality do you look for in people that you work with?
People who take personal responsibility and who are proactive.
What quality does an entrepreneur need to succeed?
A good sense of humor.
What's your biggest inspiration as a small business owner?
People who in their own lifetime have started a business from scratch and built it into a large multinational company.
What would you do differently?
Laugh more often.
What makes South Africa a great place to be a small business owner?
I think being the powerhouse of Africa against what one might think our unemployment rate and the fact that many people need to find gainful employment and so are looking for ways to do it.
What keeps you awake at night?
I try not to let anything keep me awake at night anymore.
And what gets you going in the morning?
My 5-year-old son, followed by my first cup of coffee in the morning.
Pete, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you. We look forward to the coming weeks. We will bring you further South African entrepreneurs. I'm Paul Hobden. Thank you and goodbye.